All right. Hi, everybody. So let's see. Who do we have here? Awesome. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ann Price. I'm president of Community Evaluation Solutions. I have been in business since 2004. So I've been through a little bit of growing pains here or there. So why business planning? I wrote one when I first started my company, and I don't think I ever looked at it again, actually. But something happened in March of 2020. Well, several things happened. There was a global pandemic, and Black men were being murdered at a pretty steady clip. It felt like every day. It was a really traumatic time. And I had been in a pain point of my business for several years, meaning that I knew I needed to either get smaller or grow, and I really needed to rest. So I took a week off and totally rewrote my business plan, very intentionally leaning into our tagline, which is partnering for social change. So I'm going to be talking about what I did for my business plan. And in the chat, I gave you a link to office hours. I do office hours free coaching about twice a month. There's a Google Doc, a shared doc, and there you will find a template that I created for you on how I did my business plan. I did it in PowerPoint. And a YouTube video that has some of our recordings. A lot of what we talk about is private, personal to your business, so we don't record that. And then a link to my new podcast. But anyway, jumping in, what did I include? So first of all, a business plan is important, of course, because it gives you direction. Just like we tell our clients, hey, you need to do a logic model or a theory of change because it'll help you get focused. A business plan is going to help you get focused. Very important, whatever stage of your business. So you really want to talk about your mission and get clarity on what it is you're trying to do. Again, for me, it was the decision to really lean into our tagline, partnering for social change, that I did not want to do straight program evaluation anymore. And then you really want to describe your business in a very simple way. You don't want to use evaluator speak. You want somebody who is not familiar with evaluation to really understand what it is you're trying to achieve. You want to talk about the problem or problems that your customer has and think about the skills that you have to solve the problem. And I really suggest you focus on your strengths. You're going to be most successful if you do that. And for those things that you're weak on, you surround yourself with folks who have what you do not have. Now, next, this is going to feel a little uncomfortable because, evaluators, especially independent consultants, we love to help each other out. We're competitive, but we're not competitive. But to help you focus, you really need to pick a few other evaluators who do what you do. Maybe they're in your city or maybe they're in your state or your focus area, whatever it is, but you really need to think about what they do and how you can distinguish yourself from them. And then you want to think about your persona. And what do I mean by that? I mean your personal brand. And again, your brand is not what you say about yourself, it's what other people say about you. And if you're like me and that felt really uncomfortable, I had no idea, ask a friend. I asked Susan, I don't know, is she still in this room? I think you're still in this room. I asked Susan, how would you describe me? And that was really helpful in thinking about my brand. So yes, your brand is your colors. Yes, your brand is your logo, your font, and all of those things, but it's really about your personality, your essence, and what makes you so special. And then, of course, you want to think about your ICA, your ideal customer, and you want to describe them in detail. I work with nonprofits, with coalition leaders, with foundation leaders, and for each one of those categories of people, I thought about somebody real specific. I took their picture and I described them. Their age, what kinds of activities they like, their hobbies, what really gets them really excited, and thought about what services that I had to offer to each one of those ideal customers. Not that you have to have three, it's actually probably better if you niche down even more than that, but get really specific about that description of your ideal customers. So those are the things that I included, and you'll see that in the PowerPoint template. Now I used PowerPoint if you are going for funding, you've got big plans, you're probably not going to do a business plan in PowerPoint, but this was for me. I love data viz. I love making things really beautiful. So that's what I did. So I would say don't skip writing your plan. Make sure that you do it. And know that you're probably going to have to revisit it every couple of years. Like I said, I had some pain points along the way, which are probably pretty predictable when you own your own business. And those are great times to pull out that business plan. I use my business plan now much more than I ever did my first business plan. So really, now that you've understood yourself a little bit better, your brand and your ICA, use that to develop your marketing. So I have a few best practices tips that I've already mentioned here, and you can review those. I have my contact information here. And on that Google Drive, like I said, you'll see the template and a couple of books that I have found really helpful. So I'm going to stop sharing and let you jump in with questions.
I think somebody needs to do a book review of Book Yourself Solid by Michael Port. If I go to another one of these IC TIG events and somebody brings it up and I haven't read it, I'm going to just explode because I see it every time I talk about
Audible.
Stuff.
Audible is your friend. But you know what, Matt, what I have found lately, because a lot of what I've done in the last year is looking into marketing that I had never done in all the years I've been in business, is after a while, they kind of all say the same thing. Know, like, and trust, you know, develop your freebie, build your contact list, all of the things that I didn't know about until the last year and a half.
I just started this book, Get Different Marketing.
Oh, I like that.
So I'm only in the middle of the second chapter. So I'll give you guys an update on it once I get further into it. But Mike McAlowitz has done a lot of interesting business books, and he's very off the wall.
So who here has a business plan, and or why did you choose this section? You can't see the link. Okay, I put it in I thought the chat had gone to everybody. I can't really tell. There you go.
I have a question.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Anne. I don't necessarily have a business plan, but my question is, I'm at the verge of starting consulting. Mm-hmm. But can you take me through how did you separate your passion and the business? And how are those two working together? Or how are they competing against each other? Because
I love that question. I love that question. My passion is my business, right? There's no difference. I'm doing I would not do anything different, right? I really wouldn't. I would say make your passion your business. Absolutely. So whatever gets you super excited. I love working with community coalitions and collaboratives. That is probably my jam. Right up there working with nonprofit leaders. So yeah, I don't see that as separate. Yes, is there business stuff that I got to look at my budget, right? I got to look at, money coming in, and do I have enough to pay my contractors now? I've got to look at projections for next year. I'm in the middle of doing that. I have to meet with my CPA. Yes, you have those businessy things, but yeah, absolutely. Whatever you're excited about should be your business. Great question.
Who do you recommend sharing your business plan with? I imagine it's mostly an internal document, but have you taken advantage of just sort of sharing it around for feedback with the other consultants, or is it something that you even share with clients at times?
I would never share it with a client because it talks about my marketing strategy, and there's some financial stuff in there that I wouldn't necessarily. You'll see it in the template I would never share it with a client. For me, it's mainly internally facing, although I have a few of my business besties that saw it. I definitely shared it with my husband. I shared it with my best friend who's been in business for 30 years. If you're going for funding, then you are likely going to want to do a more traditional business plan. It has a lot of the elements that I included, but it will probably be in Word, and you could take it to the bank and try to get funding, right? So for me, the purpose was really getting clarity on, as I kind of look, I've been around the block a few times, right? So I'm not starting out like a lot of you are. I'm thinking about, if I have another 6 to 8 years left in my career, how do I want to spend my time? So it was very personal. Somebody said, well, did it take you a whole week? Well, no, not really, because to me, it was like a sabbatical. Like I was baking bread and I was taking walks and I was reading novels and I was resting, because I don't think as small business owners, we do that enough to allow that space to be creative, to really have those creative thoughts get in our head about the kind of business we want to have. I mean, truly, I could go back and make a hell of a lot more money working at ICF, right? So if we're going to have our own businesses, why not create something that really feeds us? So I don't know, Laura, that was a rambling answer. Sorry about that.
I think it ties in. I do have a business plan, but I've been a consultant for quite a long time. I think it ties into some of the other sessions because it helps you understand whether you want to collaborate with others or not, which was a session. It helps you understand kind of what kind of directions you might want to go as you go forward. And as well as to Godfrey's question, I would agree with Anne, find what you're passionate about and you never have to work a day. But you can also have work that's more, it's bread and butter and it's reliable and maybe it's not the funnest, but then you can also, I build in pro bono days to work with local organizations. So that is part of my business plan, a certain amount of days that I will give to smaller organizations in my community.
Right. Something that has guided / haunted me was something a friend said a few years ago that she had heard from her pastor during a Sunday sermon. And he said, be careful what you say yes to, because everything you say yes to, you say no to something else. And that has really stuck with me. So think about that. You wouldn't want to say yes to something and then the thing that you would really love to do just came along and you don't have the capacity. So if you have that business plan in front of you, front and center, that'll keep you grounded.
Thanks, Anne.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.